The drama surrounding Kelsey Mitchell's season is not just about one injury or one interview. It is about a system quietly revealing its cracks at the exact moment the league wants everyone celebrating growth. Mitchell did not exaggerate when she said she played until the wheels fell off. She described a reality that many players live but rarely admit out loud. A reality where the demands never stop, the minutes pile up, the bodies absorb everything, and the consequences are brushed aside as toughness or sacrifice. What makes this moment different is that Mitchell finally said it plainly, and once you really sit with what that means, it becomes impossible to ignore what it says about the future of the WNBA. Stephanie White's defensive approach fundamentally changed how Kelsey Mitchell was used last season. Mitchell has always been an offensive engine, a scorer who thrives on rhythm, movement, and energy. Under White, she was asked to carry a defensive workload that stretched far beyond what fans were used to seeing from her. Long defensive possessions, constant chasing over screens, heavy on-ball responsibility, minimal rest. Night after night, Mitchell was pushed into a two-way role that demanded everything she had. And by the end of the season, her body answered back. This was not an isolated case. Half the roster was dealing with injuries. Players were in and out of lineups. Minutes were redistributed, but the burden on key players only grew heavier. Mitchell was playing close to 37 minutes a night during critical stretches, absorbing the physical cost of a system that asked guards to defend like elite wings while still producing offensively. That kind of workload might work in theory. In reality, with short benches, condensed schedules, and limited roster flexibility, it breaks bodies. What makes Mitchell's admission so unsettling is not just that she got hurt. It is that she said she would do it all over again. That response can be framed as loyalty, toughness, or competitive fire, but it also raises a more uncomfortable question. Has the league conditioned its players to believe that sacrificing their bodies is the only way to prove their value? When a player is willing to run herself into the ground without long-term security, without a guaranteed future, without even clarity on whether the league will exist in 2 years, that is not just dedication. That is a warning sign. Mitchell is a free agent. The Fever desperately need her. The Clark-Mitchell-Boston core is the foundation of everything Indiana is building. But the timing could not be worse. The collective bargaining agreement is stalled. A 2026 lockout is looming. Teams cannot responsibly negotiate long-term deals without knowing what the next economic structure will look like. Even if they could, the current salary cap makes it nearly impossible to offer Mitchell what her production actually deserves. This is where the disconnect becomes impossible to defend. The league wants growth. It wants more games. It wants expansion. It wants national TV deals and packed arenas driven by star power. But when players ask for a fair share of revenue, the answer is no. When they ask for expanded rosters to manage the load, the answer is no. When they ask for developmental contracts and benefits, the answer is no. Instead, the solution offered is to play more basketball. Unrivaled enters this conversation not as a threat, but as a symptom. It exists because players need options. It exists because the WNBA's economic model forces players to chase income wherever they can find it. Mitchell describing unrivaled as an opportunity to stay domestic without going overseas is not inspirational. It is an indictment. It means the primary league cannot sustain its own stars without pushing them elsewhere to survive financially. And while this is happening, the contrast inside Indiana is glaring. Caitlin Clark is receiving endorsement deals, national commercials, and generational attention. She deserves every bit of it. But Mitchell is carrying a different kind of weight. Heavy minutes, heavy defense, contract uncertainty, injury risk. This is not a balanced partnership. It is a system that benefits from Mitchell's labor without protecting her future. Fans are quick to talk about loyalty. They hope Mitchell takes a team-friendly deal. They hope she stays. But loyalty is a two-way street. What has the league done to earn that loyalty? What has the system done to protect the players who give it everything? Running a player until her body gives out and then asking her to smile through uncertainty is not loyalty. It is exploitation dressed up as grit. The union's proposals are not radical. A minimum percentage of revenue sharing, guaranteed roster spots, developmental players, load management structures that reflect reality. The league's response has been resistance. More games with the same small rosters, flexibility to cut spots, Continued pressure on bodies that are already stretched thin. That is not growth. That is strain. Mitchell's situation exposes the trap the league created by monopolizing women's professional basketball in America. For years, players had nowhere else to go. That allowed underinvestment to persist. Now alternatives exist. Domestic leagues, overseas contracts, coaching pathways, nil money blurring lines between amateur and professional opportunities. Suddenly, the league has to compete for talent, and it is not prepared to do so. If Mitchell plays in unrivaled, shines, and reminds everyone of her value, the next chapter becomes predictable. Another team with cap flexibility will make an offer Indiana cannot match. Fans will be upset. Narratives will paint her departure as selfish or disloyal. But the truth will be simpler. The system made leaving the only rational choice. This is not just about Mitchell. She is the canary in the coal mine. A high-level player admitting she played until her body broke while the league rejects basic protections should alarm everyone who cares about the WNBA's future. Growth without sustainability is not growth. It is erosion. Stephanie White's defensive philosophy deserves scrutiny in this context. Systems must adapt to personnel. College schemes do not translate cleanly to the professional level when depth is limited and schedules are unforgiving. Asking players to be everything at once without support is not innovation. It is negligence. Last season, what gave was not effort. It was Mitchell's body. The most tragic part is how normalized this has become. Mitchell smiling at Media Day, saying she feels great, saying she would do it again. That is not strength. That is survival. Players learn quickly that showing vulnerability risks their livelihood. So they smile. They grind. They sacrifice. And the league counts on it. The WNBA stands at a crossroads. Either it begins treating players as assets worth protecting, or it continues burning through them while celebrating surface-level success. Mitchell deserves a contract that reflects her impact. She deserves a system that values her health. She deserves a league that does not force her to choose between financial security and physical longevity. If the league cannot keep a player like Kelsey Mitchell healthy, happy, and fairly compensated, it will not matter how many teams expand or how many TV deals are signed. Talent will leave. Careers will shorten. And the same story will repeat with a different name. So here is the real question. Do you think Kelsey Mitchell stays in Indiana? Do you think that 2026 lockout actually happens? And do you believe the WNBA truly prioritizes player health over player production? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you want more real conversations about where this league is heading. Subscribe if you are tired of polished narratives and want the truth behind the growth. This situation is bigger than one player, and ignoring it will only make the fallout